Yes, good morning. This is Gerry L. Green from the Black Student Advocate here in Southern California. On the phone with Gerry Wayne Monroe, and Dr. McHenry. Will you please go ahead and introduce yourselves and your organizations?
My name is Dr. Darlena McHenry, and I'm the CEO and Executive Director of St. Gerry Center.
All right, I'm Gary Monroe, the National Executive Director of the United Urban Alumni Association. National office is based in Houston, Texas.
So, Gerry, I saw your video the other day, and would you go ahead and tell us exactly what your organization do and what fighter you're in? And then Dr. McHenry, then I'll follow that.
My organization, basically, we're the watchdogs of Black education in the city, basically in the city of Houston and any other city that may need help. We've monitored and watched Black education just basically fall through a black hole for the last 15 to 20 years. And our children are not being educated by the system that is in place. And we're very, very concerned about that. So what we do is we engage local schools as well as local school districts to provide a better educational experience for our kids by any means necessary.
Okay. Dr. McHenry, what do you do with your organization?
St. Gerry Center, we're basically an after-school program, and we have what is called the Smart Academy: science, math, art, and technology. We also do teacher trainings. We do parent trainings. Our goal is to make sure that every child has a loving, safe space in which to learn. And our mission is to diversify STEAM one student at a time. So our goal is to create these loving spaces where children can learn and feel accepted and feel valued.
Okay. And what we do with the Black Student Advocate, we are a media company who actually do student advocacy for the Black student. So with us being media, we go in, we get many different calls from 504 IEPs and discipline, and we go and we hold school district accountable based on ed code, on what's going on. And so what we do is we go get the call, and something different, because we are a media company, we do not charge the parents. We go ahead and we have other ways to make money. And one of the ways we do that is through offering courses and trainings. And some courses we offer is Advocacy 101, Basic Parent Rights, Ed Code, Developing My Students' Master Plan, Emotional Intelligence. And we just offered them courses yesterday in the community. And we teach all these courses up under the Title I of being that parent engagement, parent involvement. So that's what we do as an organization. Again, with that, right now we have one school district we just served about a month ago with a lawsuit along with our attorney and the parents, and we have 6 or 7 more lined up. We are, just like you said, Gerry, holding school districts accountable, and again, using a legal system to make sure we remedy the problem, and also we put infrastructure in place to continue to make sure we make systemic changes. So Gerry, I saw your video the other day when you were in Fort and you were speaking at the school board. Can you tell us how that came about? You got the call. What happened? How did that come about?
Well, actually, I was a resident of Fort Bend County for 15 years, and I just sold my house a couple of years ago. And I moved back into the inner city to help my people. So I've always monitored Fort Bend ISD. But as a resident for 15 years, I would not allow my children to attend their schools. Fort Bend ISD is a very rich and diverse community. But the problem with Fort Bend ISD is there's a lot of racial overtones that people don't want to admit exist inside of this very diverse community. So what happened was there's a high school called Thurgood Marshall High School, and they were in the process, the district was in the process of doing some rezoning, and because they have to build a new school. So what they did is they wanted to put an early college inside of Marshall High School. The problem was is they're going to put an early college inside of Willow Ridge High School as well as Hightower High School. So with the rezoning coming about because of all of this, that meant that several communities would be affected. And some of those communities were white affluent communities inside of Fort Bend ISD. Well, the thing was is the way the rezoning was set up, a lot of those white affluent parents would have to send their children to this predominantly black high school, which is Thurgood Marshall. Well, the district has done a great job in the last few years of really destroying the image of Thurgood Marshall High School. They don't do any type of PR work for all the great things that happens at Marshall High School. They have one of the best girls and boys track teams in the country. And it's been that way for about the last 5 or 6 years. You don't win a state championship in track unless it comes through Missouri City and Thurgood Marshall in the state of Texas. Their football team is exceptional. Now, when I look at that, people say, well, that's just athletics. No, they're student athletes. So they're doing it in the classroom as well as on the field. Well, when they started the rezoning, the district got with every single community that would be affected, the affluent white communities, the affluent black communities, even the other poor black communities, but they never talked to the Marshall people. They made decisions on this high school without ever conferring with the stakeholders in the community. So it was basically, they're just going to shove this thing down their throat. And people say, well, it's an early college, kids will get to go to college. No, there's a plot to that. We've seen it. In the city of Houston, we've had 74 schools, 74 black schools that have closed over a 20-year period. So we kind of understand the formula that they use to close schools. Now, Fort Bend ISD has been infiltrated by a bunch of people that were terminated or resigned from the Houston Independent School District that closed these 74 schools. So they have the personnel that is used to closing schools. Now, we know for a fact that they don't want Thurgood Marshall to be open. They made a mistake building it in the first place. They should have never built it because they were trying to knock out another school, so they felt if they built Marshall, then they would take away enrollment from Willow Ridge, but that didn't work. So now they figured out we don't need both these schools. So they decided they would put this rezoning plan in place and they wouldn't give these people a voice. These people are distraught. Looks like they're trying to close their school. Nobody would listen to them. So I'm watching from the outside. And nobody asked me to go to Missouri City. God told me to go to Missouri City. They need help. So when I showed up and I figured out that you listened to the white parents who didn't want to send their kids there, you accommodated them by not rezoning. You listened to the other communities, you gave them programs. You making sure that whatever type of rezoning is done, they get a new influx of children. But you didn't give Marshall anything, and they would not listen to them. They would not come and sit down and talk to them. Well, excuse me. If people know the history of me being an advocate, I'm not the guy that you ignore. It's not going to happen on my watch. I pay taxes. I'm a good person. I work in my community. You're not going to ignore me. So that's the way I felt for these people. They pay taxes, and they pay a lot of taxes out in Fort Bend. So I showed up, and I tried to engage the district. They basically sent me word that they were going to paint me like I was crazy, and they were just going to ignore me. So I said, you know what? You're not going to ignore me. I'm telling you, you're not going to ignore me. So when I went into the boardroom that night, I never prepare speeches. Never. I never even think about what I'm going to say until I actually get to the microphone. Well, I have my ideologies about the African-American community, our politicians, just everything about our community. And, you know, it was a day after Martin Luther King's birthday. Well, in the city of Houston and all those surrounding areas, Fort Bend and different places, we have a lot of black-on-black violence. We have a lot of gang issues. We have school issues. And I just felt in my heart, I didn't attend the MLK Day parades. I didn't do any of that because I feel that we should honor the spirit of MLK, not just one day, but 365 days a year. Not just one day. We should not honor Black history just one month out the year. We should honor Black history 12 months out the year. So when I stepped to that microphone and I knew the character of the people that sat on that board, there's only one African-American lady that sits on the school board in Fort Bend ISD. But I know the character of the other people. I just let it flow. I didn't do it thinking that the video would go viral. It's just the way that I felt. And bottom line, it's time for us to just put a stop to it and say that enough is enough. You've made enough money off of our children through this educational process. Now you're going to give them what we paid for.
Okay. Dr. McHenry, you want to comment on that?
I think that message is extraordinarily powerful, and you're absolutely correct. There's a tremendous amount of money that is supposed to be diverted to educate our children, and then people are throwing up their hands and saying they don't know how to educate our children, or they're tried, or they're blaming the parents. They're taking the money and they're not doing the work. And I think that's why we're here together, is to figure out how to hold their feet to the fire and have them do the work. Or if you're not going to do the work, give the money to the people who are going to do the work so they can do the work. So you did a lot of research there, which I think is fantastic, and you got a lot of data there. How are you going to expand this outside of Houston? Or are you going to stay with Houston? How are you going to move forward? Because this is powerful.
Well, we are now, 4 days after the video, we are now at 3 million views on the video. We hit 3 million this morning. So what I've been doing is I've been challenging people. I'm a guy that'll tell you that I'm not the one that's gonna keep going to the marches. I'm not the one that's gonna keep begging the politicians. I'm gonna put a plan together and I'm gonna execute my plan. That's the way I was taught by my coaches in high school when we played ball. Here's the game plan, execute it. So the way that I'm gonna execute it is simple. If people like what they see me doing, if they believe in what I'm speaking every day, then what stops you from building a UUAA in your city? In 48 hours, I have 21 new chapters of the UUAA across the country. I'm telling them it don't cost a lot of money to do this. Hardly any money. It takes a whole lot of heart. We got to make some people uncomfortable. But my thing is I'm going to fly in or drive in. I'd like to drive in to every one of these cities that we put a chapter in, and now I'm going to educate you. And the first level of education that I'm going to teach you is the gardening aspect. I have to teach you how to become a gardener, because we have to identify the snakes and we got to get them out of our garden. All these corrupt politicians that have their hands in education every single day, that have their hands in these charter schools, it's time for them to go. Get out of our business, take control of our children's education, and now we will get what we have already paid for. So the plan is to put UUAAs, we just call it the urban, put urban chapters in as many cities as we can put them in. And now I'm going to give you the blueprint and tell you, you have your game plan. Your game plan, it's time to execute.
Let me ask you another question. Your video is on YouTube?
It's actually it's on Facebook. I'm really not a big, social media guy. If somebody can put it on YouTube, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, the reason I ask you is because if you try to send you a friend request, Facebook gives you all these warnings. So for whatever reason, because of your recent popularity, you've already been targeted in terms of them viewing you as a threat or something and discouraging people from connecting with you and communicating with you. So I if there are people out there that are wanting to get involved and they're using media, they're going to have to jump through some hoops. So I'd like for you to think about that. because I think that this is powerful. And I would also like to see this in Southern California where we live.
I have a bunch of friends in Southern Cal, Northern Cal, matter of fact, and I've been touching bases with them. I want to bring it everywhere it needs to go. Now, I'm going to say this here about jumping through hoops. We've been jumping through hoops for 400 years. Yep. Facebook can't slow this down. The only thing that's going to slow this down is people not understanding we now have the blueprint to fix the problem. Facebook can't stop us. We fixed civil rights without Facebook. There was no social media. At the end of the day, my man that's got me and you on this program right now, they can't stop us from getting the information out. The only thing that these people need to clearly understand, when somebody labels me a target, I remind them, I've never blown a church up. I've never shot a school up. I've never looted a store. I've never rioted. The only thing I want is an education for my children, for your children. And I'm going to say this here. If you can't give it to us, give me my tax money back.
And you're absolutely correct. And I'm so glad that you stated that message, so that if anyone has tried to connect with you and they've been blocked, they realize that there is going to be a mechanism to get around this so that we can do the work that needs to be done.
The thing is, Doc, let me tell you something. We've been oppressed forever. We know that. The goal has always been not to educate the black man or the black woman. That's always been the goal. So when people get to telling me about, like I said in that meeting, and I didn't go into detail, Brown versus the Board of Education. Okay, so what did these people do after Brown versus the Board of Education? They tried to circumvent Brown versus the Board of Education with magnet schools and school choice. Now, they still exist till this date. So the same thing that they used to try to kill Brown versus the Board of Education, they made us believe that we need to buy into it. I would never send my children to a Fort Bend ISD school. I got up every morning at 5:30 in the morning and drove my kids back to the neighborhood where my school was. And I told them when I was doing it, that school was old, it was ran down, we're not going to do this. No, you're going to build me a brand new school. You're going to build me a school that rivals the school that's on the white side of town. You're going to give me everything I need in this school. And if you choose not to give it to me, then I know how to deal with you. You will not make another dollar off these children in this school ever again. In order to beat these billion-dollar bullies, in Texas, we call them Texas billion-dollar bullies, these school districts. In Cali, that's what we need to start calling them. California billion-dollar bullies. The only way you're going to get these people to do anything for your children, you got to affect their bottom line. You got to affect their money. So if they can't make money off your kids, they want to sit down and they're going to want to sit down and compromise, and they're going to want to barter. Well, I'm not in the mood to barter. This is going to be a one-sided conversation. I'm going to tell you what I want. If you don't give me what I want, then we're going to have a problem.
We're right here with you. And this is a conversation that Gerry and I have been having for several years. Follow the money. The money is there. Why aren't the scores reflecting the money? Why isn't the education reflecting the money? How is it that you can graduate so many kids that aren't college and career ready and you not be concerned, and then you blame someone else? You are billion-dollar bullies. If you've taken billions of dollars to educate our children and you have failed in that regard, there is no one to blame but you. You have to take some responsibility for that, and you have to be accountable for that. I love this blueprint idea. I love strategic plans, and I love communicating to people that this isn't a one-shot deal. This isn't a one-shot deal with 3 million people and now we're going to die and we're going to go away. No. Now we're going to organize. Now we're going to hold people accountable, including the politicians that look like us. Just because you're skin folk don't mean you're kinfolk.
I'm thinking the same thing when you said it. I'm thinking the same thing when you said it. Look, kids don't fail. Schools fail kids and school districts fail schools. But see, the thing is I'm going to tell you the biggest mystery in the world. How did all the black kids in America get dumb at the same time? They all got dumb at the same time. That's where the systemic problem comes in. Because this was a strategic plot to cripple a race of people. If you don't educate them, you don't have your next set of leaders. There's nobody that can stand on Capitol Hill and fight for us because they won't have their education. I need people to understand this, that there are plenty of jobs out there that we could be making a lot of money doing, that these kids can come out of school doing. The reason they can't get the job is because they don't have an education. They can't meet their educational requirements. But the people that are supposed to give it to them, they're not giving it to them. So the question is why? How do you take billions of dollars, just like you said, you pour it into these schools, but when that child is promoted to the 9th grade, they're still reading on a 3rd grade level? And you want to blame that on the child? No, this is a plot to destroy us.
You know, what you look at is just what you said, is systemic issues that's going on. And you look at, again, say, how long has a superintendent been in that seat? How long have elected officials been in that city? Because what happens is you look at when they start testing to see if they're going to be going to college or up to 3rd grade, you learn to read, then you read to learn. So what happens is we know by studies that 30 million words are missed by children of color till the age of 5. So we got to bridge that gap. We have to hold the administration accountable to their budgets. They're getting money in. Again, we're going to start doing forensic audits of these school districts to see when they diverted the money away from where it's earmarked to go. We're getting the money every year for foster care for black students, and our grades are not going anywhere. So that's, again, the skin folk is not in line. Also, we need to ask them, okay, you have a plan, but what is your equity plan? Because equity means equality. Let me put it back like this. Equality, every kid gets a pair of shoes. Equity, every kid gets a pair of shoes that fit. And that's how the school system's supposed to be, is every kid gets an education that meets their needs. And what happens is out here in California, they want to kick the kids out to have some challenges. As a kid is getting labeled ADD, ADHD, the kid's an asset. But when it's time to deliver the services, the kid's a liability. So now they want to get rid of the kid. So we go in and I hold the school districts accountable. We file lawsuits along with lawyers, and we're about getting the numbers right and saying, okay, you're getting this money, let's deep dive. Let's see what you're actually doing. Because the programs that you continue to do are not working. When people from the community out here in California go to a school district with a plan, the school district minimizes the plan or don't fund the project all the way. So what happens is the project can't succeed. So now the school district says, oh, we tried, but it didn't work. So we see the game being set up. And again, once we continue to teach parents how to advocate for themselves, then the school district is going to lose their position of power. Right now, the districts have the power, and up under Title I, that 1% of money is supposed to be used for parent engagement, parent involvement. But the district really don't want that because they see that's going to be a power shift. And just what you're doing, you go into meetings and holding the school district accountable, same thing we do. So again, we're all in unison and talking the same language. It's just about, again, looking at your blueprint, seeing how we can work it out here and how we can take our programs nationwide. So I wanted to get more information on your on the urban. And again, we look at it, I'm with it. We need to unite each other along with other black advocates across the country like you're doing and have the same voice. And when we need to speak and get the word out, we have that. Also, our phone app will be out. The Black Student Advocate phone app will be out by the 1st of February. Then we're going to go to the community, start doing surveys. Now we have the numbers ourselves from the community in which we could go to school board meetings and superintendents and give them the numbers, because everything they want to talk about is evidence-based. Evidence-based is that they're failing our kids. Evidence-based, they want to bully, shame, and blame the parents. I see that, but you got $1 million budgets, $500 million budgets out here in California school districts, but you want to blame the parents for kids not getting education. In California, we know the school districts for Black students, the test scores are the worst, chronic absenteeism is the highest, and discipline is the highest. So we see that going on. And again, it's the same thing going on across the country. You know, so right now, the video's 3 million, you got 21 chapters. So now what? What's the next move for you? And also, Dr. McHenry, if you have any questions, go ahead also.
We keep building. We keep educating. We keep holding everybody accountable. If they've taken your tax money, you have a right to question anything that they're doing. We have to stop talking and we have to start doing what we need to do. Malcolm said it, and we can apply it here. We need to stop singing and start swinging. We done did it their way. It's time to start swinging.
Right.
So my thing is we have to, like you guys are doing great work out there, man. I'm so proud of you. Just meeting you, but I'm proud of you. We have to identify how they're doing what they're doing. For example, in HISD, we have an interim Black female superintendent, Dr. Grenita Lathan. For whatever the reason, they don't want this Black woman. Now, let's see. You say we got schools failing in Cali, we got schools failing in Texas. When she first got here as the chief academic officer, they dumped 29 of the worst schools in the district on her desk, fixed them. And in 1 year, this woman put together a strategic plan, and all 29 of those schools were not failing anymore. Well, we ended up with a Latino superintendent. He stayed for a year. He left and went to NYC. They picked her as the interim. When I say this is the best this school system has been ran in the last 15 to 20 years, it's unbelievable. But you got certain people that say we don't want her as a superintendent. And I'm like, why? Oh, well, we just don't want her. No, you know why you don't want her? Because you can't buy her. She's not going to play your little vendor games. She's not going to play the under the table money. She only cares about educating children. But more importantly, she's made our Black children believe that they now have a shot. So kids that were not coming to school are coming to school now at these low performing schools. These low performing schools are not performing, but the enemy wants to take her away. So we have to identify the enemy. We got to clean the garden out, and we have to identify the enemy, and then we got to put the work in. And that means attending every single school board meeting, every single city council meeting, because they got their hands in your school business too. You need to be at your legislators when they go in session. You need to be beating on your senators and your congressmen doors. My children are not being educated, but you took my money. They're not going to like it. They're going to label you a target. But okay, if that's the target I'm going to be labeled, then I'll take that.
I'll ride with you on that. And again, I'm already got that label also, because they want to know who's your handler. You know, who do you report to? And when they found out I didn't have a handler, they're like, oh, we got to deal with Gerry straight up, because I continue to ask the same questions. You're not going to buy a $500 or $1,000 table at a chicken dinner and have me go away. I'm independent. I'm entrepreneur. So I don't have strings attached to any of these organizations where you can shut me down. And that's the name of the game, is the independence. But what that sounds like to me and the Houston ISD is that one or two things. One, either they were cooking the books, always saying these schools were low, and she came in and said, oh, you're reporting that wrong. And that happened. And also with that, you have the teachers that's finally saying, you know something? Someone's really care for these students. Because I know with you and also with me and Dr. McHenry, a lot of calls we get are from staff who really want to do a good job for the kids, but they caught up in the big machine through the district. And I get calls and they say, Gerry, they're not doing this right. Just come up here, Gerry, and you'll see. And I know you're getting the same calls, and other people around the country are getting the same calls. And so the thing is, like I said, their unity in numbers and putting them on blast, because school districts are like roaches. When you cut the light on and hit the switch and put them on the spotlight, they're going to run. Something else that you have in your back pocket is lawsuits, because these districts do not want to be part of case law, so they're going to settle out of court because they do not want their name drug across the media for being sued for something. So again, I just want to commend the work you're doing, brother, and say, again, I want to keep you encouraged. Again, call me, I'll call you, keep each other encouraged, because it's work out here that we have to do for our babies and to make sure school districts are producing a good product, which is high achieving Black students. Dr. McKim,
Exactly.
add anything to that? Or Gerry, you can go ahead and speak.
I'll let Doc go.
I just want to thank you for the work that you're doing. I have been in education for 40 years, and I have been saying a lot of this along the way, and that's why I chose to become independent. And before I could become independent, I am from Memphis, Tennessee. I was there when Dr. King was killed, even though I was a young child. Me and Fannie Lou Hammer, you have to get your financial house in order, and then you can speak truth to light. And that is what I've been doing. That's what I'm going to continue to be doing. If there's anything that I can do in order to support you in this effort, I am a researcher, and I can support you with data and information or with contacts. I'm here. I know my lane. I stay in my lane, and I go deep. I'm here to support you.
Gerry, anything? You want to comment? Gerry, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So, okay, now you were saying that continue to build. So what does the blueprint look like if someone says, I'm interested, but they don't know anything about your organization? What's the blueprint? So we know it's school districts, it's politicians, both city, county, state, federal. Who else should we look at to be on the target? And then I can go after you speak.
Everybody is a suspect. That's the way I feel. Everybody is a suspect. If you're not doing nothing to help our people, we coming to see you. And what I mean by that is the politicians, it's the school systems, it's the local pastors, it's the businesses in the neighborhood. If you're not doing nothing to help our people, all of y'all are suspect. It's time for us to figure out that the only way the Black community is going to survive is we have to buy back our community. If they don't want to treat our kids right in these schools, let's build our own schools. If the Asian brother on the corner is treating you bad at the nail shop, let's build our own nail shop. It's time for us to take control of our neighborhoods. Gentrification doesn't work unless you just buy into the fact that you need to go. It doesn't work. So to build an urban is simple. You need you don't need 500 people in your urban. I started with 16. That was it. But I started with 16 people that had passion, that had heart, that were fed up with what they were seeing. And those 16 people committed to doing the work that needed to be done. Let's go to all the school board meetings. And I mean, not just HISD, because we got to compare. So we need to hit everything around in every county that's touching Harris County. So all of a sudden, we started to be more visible. And now, I'm being honest with you, after engaging these people, and I don't have a problem engaging you in the boardroom, Mr. Board Member, or I tell you what, I can engage you at 3 o'clock in the morning in front of your house with full protest. Either way, you're going to talk to us. Either way, you're going to listen to us. And more importantly, you're going to do exactly what we tell you to do, because politicians work for the people. We don't work for you. You work for us. So if they don't want to do in the real world, you know how it works. If we don't do our job, we lose our job. So I'm telling people it's simple how you fix politics. You got to vote these people out. You got to stop acting like on voting day you got everything else to do except put your vote in that ballot. Put your vote in that box. We got to find the right people, and the only way you can find the right politician to represent you, you're going to have to develop some more. Because this recycling of politicians, well, one year they're on the school board, the next year they're city councilman, the next year they're a county judge. No. You recycling politicians. So if he was garbage as a school board rep, he gonna be garbage as a city council member.
There you go.
If he was corrupt as a school board rep, he's gonna be corrupt as a city council person.
That's true.
But there are people out there like you, like I know a young Latino brother. I helped him on the issue in the school. He just graduated, and now this young man is running public office. That's what I'm talking about right there. We got to make the changes. We got to get the old guard out. The reason it's messed up, and it's been messed up for 20 years, we've been dealing with the same people for 20 years. So, yes, I want to tell people, Gerry, your soror, your frat brother, they're corrupt. Your church member is corrupt. You see what I'm saying? Your neighbor, your home association president, they're corrupt.
Right.
Identify the enemy. And the worst racist that you could ever run across is the one that's the same color as you. Our own people do us in 98% of the time.
And that's so true. And now let's back up. And a simple thing. If you're a believer, if you're a Christian and talking Christ-like, you should be advocating for someone because Christ advocated for you. So if you have a minister, pastor, spiritual who ain't advocating for the brother who's being wrongfully charged, for the student who's getting kicked out of school, for the student who's not getting the proper treatment during grading, then we have a problem. And so we created, with the Black Student Advocate, we created our own grading system. So you heard of A through G, and that's big out here, A through G in California, to be able to go to a Cal State or a UC system. But our grading system is A, is attitude toward the Black student. B, behavior toward the Black student. C, care of the Black student. D, discipline of the Black student. E, evaluation of the Black student. F, fear, false evidence appearing real about the Black student. G, guidance/grading of the Black student. And H, you need to have a holistic approach when you're dealing with the Black student. Because if a baby is late coming to school in their elementary school, they can't control that. So why are you punishing a baby? It don't make sense. Evidently, mom or dad or guardian is working a night shift or something, and they getting off and doing a drive-by, picking the baby up, trying to get to school. So you got to look at the whole approach. You're punishing people who have no control over that. And you can't punish.
Also,
go ahead.
Also, why are you punishing that child that's late? Well, I'm going to punish him even more because he doesn't have a uniform on. But yet you're a Title I school. Why does he need to buy one?
There we go.
He shouldn't have to buy a uniform. They make billions off our children every year.
So then you look at, like I was further saying, is the grading system, and then you're saying it just doesn't make sense because if you cared for the Black student, then you would treat them different. So you can't love the fruit being the student. Well, some people say, I love my students, but I don't like the. You can't love the fruit and hate the root. It just don't make sense.
Exactly.
So again, I appreciate your time, brother. Dr. McKinney,
no problem.
Go ahead and let you say what you want to say in closing. Then Gerry, then I'll wrap it up.
I just want to say that this work is so important. And I am just so happy that people are actually recognizing the issues, dealing with the issues, and willing to make people feel uncomfortable about the money that they are receiving and not educating our children. And I did all the data. I looked at the numbers. I looked at the money, as you indicated. God is in the numbers. And I started going to people and saying, you're getting billions of dollars. These are the results. let's work together. And then people would say to me, you're separating us. It's like, no, I'm not doing the separating. When African American students are the lowest functioning academically in the country, you've already separated us. Now let's address it. So I'm ready to move forward. Let's see what we can do.
Gerry?
You have a great congresswoman from the state of California that I love listening to as much as I can. Congresswoman Maxine Waters.
Yes.
I love her spirit. I love her fight. And the congresswoman said one day that if you're going to be in the middle of all of this, if you're not willing to be controversial, this is not your fight.
There you go.
This is not your fight. If you're not willing to step on some toes, this is not your fight. I need some toe steppers, man. I need some people that at the end of the day, they're gonna be unapologetically black. They're gonna say what they mean, and they're gonna mean what they say. And for those that feel like people that come from the hood, their voice should not be heard, I even speak to them in a language that they can relate to. All I'm asking my brothers in Jordan Downs, all I'm asking my brothers in East Oakland, you see what I'm saying? Chicago, Houston, LA, Dallas. All I'm asking you to do is what you live by every day. If you're going to talk like a G, it's time to walk like one. It's time to walk like one for these kids, man. Either we stand up for them now, or they'll just keep building prisons so they don't have to educate them, and they can keep throwing them in there. And it's crazy, Gerry, when you think about it, and I'm going to leave you with this. In the state of Texas, they'll throw a kid out of school, and they'll send him to jail, and they'll do all that, and you're like, well, we're not going to educate them. We know they're not going to educate them. But yet if they end up in the prison system, they cannot get a parole date unless they have at least a GED. So they go in uneducated, but you're going to educate them your way. So we just got to keep putting in work. And if we targets, well, so be it. We'll just be a target. We've been a target for 400 years. It don't matter.
There you go. You know, so to wrap up the call, I would say continue to work. We're committed here, myself and Dr. McHenry, to fight the fight. We're holding everyone accountable who gets in front of us. And at the same time, we want them to hold us accountable for what we're doing. Again, I tell them, if you see me slipping and getting off track for what I'm saying, hold me accountable. And when you start talking about the hood, I grew up in the suburbs of Detroit city called Ypsilanti, Michigan, right next door to Ann Arbor. So my father died when I was 5. I'm an 8th out of 9. So I know about government cheese, government butter, and all that. I left when I graduated high school. I went into the Air Force. And I'm saying all this to say also, and at 32, my mom had 8 kids. I'm the 8th out of 9. So I'm saying that to say, when they trying to put down a black sister about having kids, and she got 4 kids, I'm thinking she ain't met the standard that I've seen in my lifetime. And I can tell you this: when we advocate for and be a sister or a family wherever they are. I was advocating for a mother 2 weeks ago, and she has a 6-month-old. I'm rocking the 2-year-old in my arm as I'm talking to the district representative, and the mom telling them what the problem is. And I'm asking the mom, did he take a nap yet? She says no. And I'm saying, okay, come on, man, you're going to go to sleep. So I'm just meeting parents wherever they are and being the voice that they need to meet the need to make sure that their kids can go ahead and get their needs met, because my mom was a great advocate for me and the rest of my siblings. So what I'm doing here is legacy. Again, we all have to eat, but that'll come. So I funded my program the last 18 months myself to say that I know this is legacy, and that's what we have to start looking at now, is what do we want to leave as a legacy? Do we make it better for the generations that come behind us? And it's never too late. As long as you have a breath, it's not too late. And if you can't speak, or because of your job or your position, just call someone, give them an encouraging word, and say, hey, I appreciate what you're doing. Because of my job, I can't speak, but I can give you some information as to help you as you go out in public and speak. So it's many different legs to what we're doing, because I understand people have jobs. I'm dealing with school districts, whereas the director of safety or counselors would say, Gerry, keep doing what you're doing. I understand they have a job, but also many of them are calling me, giving me insider trader information in which I can use to empower our community and empower what we're doing. So Gerry, as we wrap up again, Dr. McHenry, Gerry, thank you for your time. Thank you for the work you're doing. Keep up the fight. And again, we'll continue to talk. Blessings to both of you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Dr. McHenry,
Yes.
hang on a sec.